Most of us have heard the phrase, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. What if instead of a bird, a plane, or even Superman, we saw this, a drone? According to the US Defense Department website, drones are defined as UAVs, or unmanned aerial vehicles, which are powered aerial vehicles sustained by aerodynamic flight over most of their flight path and guided without an onboard crew. As former constitutional and civil rights litigator Glenn Greenwald wrote an article on Salon.com and on December 12, 2011, drones enable our surveillance state unlike anything we've ever seen. So if you care about privacy, then drones will be relevant to you. Drones was and is impacting today's world in a both positive and negative way. I'll first talk about a brief history of drones, and then I'll discuss the pros to using drones, and then finally I will conclude with the cons. According to an article written by Jim Garrimore, on an American Foreign Press Service worker on April 16, 2002, drones have existed for quite some time. The very first drones were like this one, Curley's aerial bomber in 1863, that were used during the American Civil War. All these would do was basically just land off and then hopefully land somewhere where the enemy forces were, which made them very unpredictable and ineffective. Effective drones largely came about during the Vietnam War. Those drones, like the Firebee drone, all they did was basically just provide surveillance and gather information. The drones we see today are from the Gulf War in the early 90s, and those drones, like the Predator, are just, now they have a higher capacity to gather information, but not only just gather information, they're now able to carry out targeted attacks and assassinations with attached missiles. They were used extensively in Iraq and Afghanistan and are still being used in Afghanistan. Still being used extensively in Afghanistan. Now that we know a little bit of UAV history, I'll talk about the more positive and modern side to using drones. The pros to UAVs consist of both cost effectiveness and efficiency. Since 2002, the US military has deployed more than 11,000 military drones. The reason the US uses more drones more often than not is because drones are obviously cheap. Well, compared to F-35 fighter planes, drones are significantly less. F-35 fighter planes would cost about $100 million per plane, but drones are obviously cheaper. For example, a single F-35 would equal to almost 2 Reapers, or to about 5 Predators, or about 31 Scan Eagle drones. Drones are obviously cheaper. Another pro for UAVs is that humans are not on board, making it safer and more efficient. But there's more to it than that. According to Misty Cummings, an MIT professor of aeronautics and astronautics, and a former F-18 pilot on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart on January 23, 2013, 80% of all aviation accidents, both commercial and military, are due to pilot error, as shown here in this graph. Obviously, in 1903, technology wasn't that great, but now in today's world, with more and more advancements in technology, human causes are now far more than machine causes. Machine causes are about 80% of the time. Machine causes are 80% of aviation accidents are caused by humans and not human causes or human causes. To review, drones are both cost-effective and efficient. I'll now move on to the more negative side to using drones. Now, for the biggest controversy, the cons to drones consist of both controversy inside and outside the U.S. The biggest controversy of all inside the U.S. is concerned with how the government could potentially use drones to invade our privacy, as shown here in this cartoon. In accordance with a quote from Dyke Wetherington, a former U.S. defense deputy, said in 2002, some drones will be so small that in the future, a drone could potentially fly through an open window, land in some innocuous location, and then observe activities. That was said in 2002. Now, drones, that was said on February 4th, 2013, the British Army in Afghanistan was issued the Black Hornet Nano, a drone so small it can fit in the palm of a man's hand. Now, these drones haven't yet been used to search people's homes, but now there's the potential to do so still lingers. Another problem about using UAVs is that involves other countries. U.S. drone strikes have been carried out in countries such as Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Yemen. And obviously with drone strikes, the problem with them is that drones are not sniper rifles. They will hit their intended target, but they will also cause damage to both civilians and property. The actual number of civilian casualties cannot be verified because the CIA and our government has refused to disclose such information. I'll now begin to conclude my presentation. To put it simply, UAVs are impacting today's world in both positive and negative way. I mentioned how UAVs can trace all the way back to the American Civil War and that drones are increasingly complex. I mentioned a couple pros, cost effectiveness and efficiency, and I also mentioned a couple cons. The invasion of privacy and how the foreign civilian casualties. So next time you look up in the sky, the drone may be looking back at you.